Hey everybody, welcome to this Board Game Life, episode number 72, titled Love at First Sight. This is a show about games, board games, tabletop games, any kind of games we want to talk about. I am one of your fine hosts for today. My name is Rob, and with me I got the best co-host in the world, Mark.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate that. You are definitely the best, though, my friend.
I won't deny. I won't deny that. You are truly lucky to have me. How about that? And vice versa. Look at that. It's a love fest over here. But more on that later.
It
Well,
was
not
love at
the
first
love.
sight.
Yeah, yeah.
Hence the
Not
title of the show, right?
exactly. Well, but yeah, it's when I say more on that later, I don't mean more about the love fest, but rather love and games. Just want to clarify that. Just need to keep that straight.
Yeah, let's get it cleared before we get canceled.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, let's get rolling with this. So I did get to play, and I got taught this by an excellent teacher. I played Draft and Write Records.
Oh yeah, that's
Remember
right.
that? Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so got to play that. Actually, we played that on Board Game Arena, even though we both have physical copies. But hey, we're in different states, so it's hard to play. Actually, no, we could probably play our own copies together over the phone or something. I don't know.
That would be tough to do, being that we have to hand cards back and forth to each other.
Yeah. Or it's like somebody has the master cards. It's like, okay, choose this card out of your stack and this card out of your stack and this card out of your stack.
Yeah,
That's how it would have to work. But people did that kind of crazy stuff at the beginning of the pandemic as they were playing
yeah.
games over Skype and who knows what else.
It
But
was BGA made it so much easier.
oh heck yeah, oh definitely, definitely. Especially once they added, there's like chat on there now and stuff, which they didn't always have. But yeah, Draft and Write Records. This is a game that you talked about a couple of shows ago and had very high praise for. And so I pulled a mark, and as we were talking about it, I ordered it while we were talking about it on the show. Thank you, Amazon. You worked your magic as usual by not just delivering a game, but making it all too accessible and easy to order. So mission accomplished for Amazon. But yeah, Draft and Write Records is it's a really cool game. It definitely, because I think I might have mentioned this when you were talking about it, Mark. It definitely gives me like that similar kind of feel that you get when you play Ganz Schön Clever, where you're going through and you have these different regions on your player sheet, and then you're getting something from one region and you're applying it to another, and you're doing that really cool chaining that makes you feel kind of smart and accomplished. Like I did something. I I did something over here and over here and over here, and I love that mechanic that games have.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game is actually a lot of fun. It's not something that I think I normally would have gravitated to, but I really like the whole musical aspect of it, and the way that they took what I'll say like the ganz schön clever, or that's pretty clever, or whatever it's called in English, mechanism, and they made it a lot less abstract, and they gave it an interesting theme, and they pulled it off really well. So uh, I really enjoyed this game. Definitely a thumbs up for me. A double thumbs up, I would say, because I'm going to thumbs it up on left and right hands. And it's a game that I would definitely take to a game group. Although now that I kind of think about it, I think I might want to have them play, if they haven't, like if they're newbies, I would want them to play Ganz Schön Clever first, because I think that one might be a good intro to that mechanism, because it's a lot smaller and a lot simpler in terms of look, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, because As we mentioned, there was a particular game of Genshin Clever that I had that took like 2 hours because for some people that's overwhelming. So this might even be more so with all the different shapes and stuff. But we're seasoned professionals. We're good. We got it. We got it down. So it's not too bad for us. So yeah, Inside Up Games did a really nice job with this thing, and I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for teaching it to me.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It's a really good game. I really do enjoy it a lot, and
Hmm.
I do like you were saying, that kind of just chaining the bonuses and stuff one after the other. And sometimes, like especially your first one, you're like, oh, you might get one thing, but then later on, it's like, oh, I got this. Oh, this one gave me this. Oh, and then that gave me that. And it's just like you can get 5 or 6 going, and it's like it's that I think is like the most exciting part. It's like, ooh, what now? What? Oh, I get another, and it's just like it
Hmm.
kind of gives you that like exciting feel of, ooh, how far am I going to go with this?
Yeah, there is that satisfaction.
So very, very interesting. Good stuff. I'm glad it's there. We'll have to play it again. And it's even more fun, I think, in person. So when I you've got your copy, right?
Yes.
So like I said, you can play it um digitally. I mean solo. You can do a solo on that as well. So you should give it a shot. There's a
Yeah.
different rule set, and but it's just a little bit different, but it's real easy to figure out, so they explain it.
Yeah. So that's it for me. What have you been playing?
Okay, well, I'll start out with Draft and Write Records.
Hmm.
I did play that. I got to play some Orléans, um, which was really fun. I this is only the second time I've played the game. The very first time someone in our group had brought it and taught it to me, and I was like, I really liked it. I went out and bought it, and then I bought all the freaking upgrades and everything to the game, and have yet to have, like, just hadn't played it since. And it's like, oh man, come on. So I finally got it out last week, and or maybe 2 weeks ago, but got to play, and we had a great time with it, and everyone was like pretty impressed with all the upgrades, and it was just a really fun game to play. And I ended up it kind of sparked my interest in this game, and I've got a bunch of like promo little, they're not expansions, but they add like more. There's like the number 1, number 2 cards.
Oh, I'll be right back. Keep talking.
Okay, so they add more into the game, and I've got a bunch of those I haven't used yet. I'm gonna break those open and get them put into the mix. And then I looked at the expansions, and I ended up buying the 3 expansions for the game as well. Very interested in the newest one, the Plague expansion, which I now have. So I'm going to look to get to play that here soon. We also played Heat, Pedal to the Metal. I I've got this game. I'm still not sold on it. I don't. I guess I was sold on it because I bought it, but I just, this one I can't seem to get into. I can't. I feel like it's tough because you've got to really play those heat cards. And I'm always like trying to preserve the heat, but you can't. You're going to just always come in last. But then it's like if you spend your heat cards too quickly, or and you can't get more heat back in your engine, you're going to fall behind too. So I'm always trying to like preserve it, and it just always bites me. And I've got to learn to be more aggressive in this game. And I think if I can do that, I might enjoy it a little bit more. Also played Dungeons, Dice, and Danger. Again, this is a roll and write, a newer one that I've got, and I really do enjoy this. This is one I do hope, I've played with a couple people now. This is one that I like to take with my Wednesday nights, just so that I have it with, and you can really, I think it taps out at 4, but you really can play with more people. I don't really know if it impacts the gameplay that much. We did play with 5 once, and I don't think it shorted us or made it go any shorter or anything. I did get some more Gloomhaven in. This is continuing to work through with my game group on that. and working through that. I think we're about halfway through the entire campaign. I think. Um, so we're gonna get there. We're gonna complete this thing. Played Tiny Towns as well this week, and that's kind of a neat little. I know we talked about it last time, but I got to play it some more and play with some different cards, and it's a good game. I do enjoy it.
Which
Um,
one was that? I'm
Tiny
back.
Towns,
Tiny Towns. Oh yeah, yeah, it's a
yeah,
good game.
and then
It's a bingo-esque game.
yeah, yeah, and it. What I like about it is it is quick. It's a fast playing game. It's relatively easy. The hardest part is just, as someone calls out a resource that everyone's taking, and it's like, oh, I'm not, I can't use this, or where am I going to put this? It's that whole like spatial thing of how you're going to build your little buildings with the resources you're laying out in the town, and then trying to plan for something else, and then someone calls a resource that you have to take and put somewhere, and it's just like, okay, that ruins this, I can't put this there now, and well, now what am I going to build? And you're trying to plan something else out, so your plans are always changing, but it's still a simple game, pretty much to learn and
Yeah.
play.
Hmm.
um and then this I got this. Rob, you might be proud of me on this next one. I don't know, maybe not, maybe it's not anything you ever heard of, but because it's an old one. It's like a Euro style game. I don't know if you're familiar with those,
No,
but
I've never heard of those. No.
but I got a copy of a game called The Downfall of Pompeii. Don't know if
No
you've ever
way.
heard of it.
I
um,
I need to put my heel down on it.
not on my copy.
You're like, heck no.
I did. We played this. I did enjoy playing this at your house. You introduced me to this game, and it's out of print. And I've looked at it a couple times, and I finally am like, okay, I'm just gonna pay the money to pay for this thing. And I bought a copy of the game, and it's in great shape. There's nothing wrong with it. The only issue was two of the playing pieces were shorted, like missing some pieces. So I had to, but I've got a bunch of spare cubes around that I just, threw them in,
Yeah.
so that they have the right amount. But other than that, everything, the box, the board, everything was in primo condition. So it's in great shape. So really happy with it.
Very
I've played
nice.
this, probably 6 times since I got it in.
Oh,
I've
very,
taught
very
it to a
nice.
couple different people, and I had a group that didn't care for it, and then I had a group that did like it. So I think the group that didn't care for it, I think it was more if they felt like it was a mean game, but then others were like, taking joy at throwing your people into the volcano.
Yes. Yep.
And I'm like, it's not, I don't consider it a mean game. I don't, but it is fun. It does have that vindictive, like, you picking their piece up, and you're looking at them as you toss it into the volcano.
Hmm.
Um, I really do enjoy this game a lot. I'm really grateful that you introduced it to me. I'm very grateful I was able to secure a copy of it.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. And it's
Um,
it's simple. It's like a fairly simple
it
game,
is
except for building that card deck. That's a little on the complicated
that
side.
that's a
But
pain, and I keep
yeah,
I've struggled with that every time. I'm like, why is this so hard to figure out?
yeah,
Um, that's the hardest part of the game is, yeah, setting up the deck. Um,
yeah.
but
Because in the card deck, the game has two phases, and you in the first phase you deal with a card deck, and there's certain cards that have to be shuffled in at certain places because they trigger events, and you don't want that event to be like too early or too late. So what is it like? You have to make like piles of
you make
four
like 7 piles of
of
4 cards,
yeah.
and then depending on how many players you have, you then deal out a set amount of cards, and then, or I'm sorry, I think I take that back.
because
Yeah,
you have
see,
the
I still
omen
have, I've
cards
done this a
and
bunch of. You deal in all the
yeah,
omen cards, and then you take off a certain amount, and then you shuffle in an AD card, and then I think you put those on. Yeah, then like you put those on the bottom, and then you take the other stack, you put them on top of that stack, and then you take two of the seven piles, and so you have like eight cards. You put those cards on top, so you're going to have eight cards at play before you hit the first AD card, which introduces relatives and omen cards.
yeah,
So, but yeah, and it's like it depends on how many players you have as to how many cards you're pulling off to place the original, the second AD card, and it's just there's something about it that's like I don't know if it's the way it's written. It just seems like really confusing.
yeah. That was a game that was definitely translated,
Yeah,
from German. So it the translation sometimes make it difficult,
yeah,
the choice of wording.
but it's a fantastic game. And if anyone's wondering, like where, because I bought a couple out of print games, I have had really good luck at Noble Knight games. Um, so it's Noble Noble, and then Knight as in Knight. So I don't get nothing from them. I don't work for them. I'm just sharing out. This is a place I have found does have out of print games, use things and stuff like that. And they tell you the like I haven't seen pictures, but they give you descriptions, and I really like them because sometimes I've seen one where it'll say like, oh, there's like a stain on the back page of the rule book or something. They telling you like the condition of the game, and there's a list of what the conditions mean, and so I've really appreciated that. And so far, I've purchased, and they do sell new games. So I've purchased three games from them total so far, and all three have been like perfect. You know, with the exception of the Pompeii one, missing a few of the little wooden people pieces. Um, Two of the colors were short a little bit. But again, I had few, and it's an out of print, so someone probably lost them, didn't realize it, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
So
and
you,
and
but
cubes are easy.
yeah, yeah. So everything else was there. So
Yeah,
and in great good condition. So no complaints. All right. Okay. So I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I did play it. So this next game I bought for my daughter kind of as a gag because she's a huge Taco Bell fan. Like she just loves Taco Bell. So I saw this game on Amazon. It's Taco Bell Party Pack card game, and it comes in a box that looks like it resembles kind of like the big taco party pack. Like if you buy the 12 tacos in a box, I think it's 12 or 24. I don't know, a bunch of tacos in a box from Taco Bell. It comes in this big box, and it kind of looked like that. And it was a cheap game, and I bought it for her just kind of as a joke. But we did play it. Very very quick game. There's not much to it, but it was cute. But I played that a couple times with my daughter. We also played some Sushi Go, Spin Some for Dim Sum, Ticket to Ride, which is her game. My daughter, she owns this game, and I was so excited. I finally beat her, and she was not happy about it. And I think the only reason, well, I know the only reason that I beat her was because like I had finished my turn. I had laid out my final trains. I had like one train left, which ends the game. So like she gets one more turn and then I get a final turn. Well, I don't think she realized it because she just like took a couple cards. Then she looked at me and I'm just like, that's all you're doing on your final turn? She's like, what do you mean? I said, I got one train left. The game's over. Oh, no. So she put those back and then she drew some more destination tickets, hoping to get more points. And she got hosed and lost a bunch of points because of that. And I think had she had just gone out and not done anything, she actually would have won. So I ended up beating her. I did a little happy dance. I was so happy. And she wants to play again. I was like, nope, that game is banned. I'm going out on a high note. But we'll play again someday. Also played Long Shot the Dice game, some Sea Salt and Paper Extra Salt. I got to play some Space
Oh,
Base.
that's the expansion, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Space Base we played. Played some more Super Mega Lucky Box, the Quacks of Quedlinburg. And then I got two newer games in, or two new games for me. One was, I talked about Can't Stop before, but I also got the Rolling Down the Highway expansion for it. So played this just the other day. Tried it with the down rolling down the high can't stop or yeah rolling down the highway expansion, and man, does it really add a lot. It's kind of annoying because there's like 72 tiny little tiles that you lay out randomly upside down on the little stop sign board, and then every time you're moving a piece onto it, wherever you stop, when you finally stop moving, you actually have to flip over the tile that you're on and see what, then you have to take the action, and you have no idea what it's going to be until they're flipped over. Some will give you the ability to change dice rolls. Some will make you move into other lanes. And if you move into another lane and like you're already have a piece already there and it's in a higher spot, then the lower one comes out. So it's like losing a piece on the board. Um, you can end up going backward spaces. You can get stuck with a road hazard, which requires you to re-roll the dice, and you have to get that number in your pair to be able to get past that, um, to remove that hazard. Otherwise, you get moved off the board and the hazard stays there. So it really lengthened the game, not tremendous, but it really did add a lot. I really liked it because it put a lot of uncertainty into the game. Like now you're just, before you were just moving up, and the only uncertainty was once you had your three runners out, are you going to roll and risk, if you don't get the numbers you need, then you lose all your runners, they all come off the board. But now it's like, okay, I'm going to stop, but then it's like you don't know what hazard you could be sitting on. So it just adds this whole kind of extra level of um, you know mystery, I guess, to the game, and I really enjoyed that. The last game that I played was one that I have had my eye on for a long time, but I thought it was going to be, it looked like it would be very complicated, but I finally made the purchase and I did get to play it solo a couple of rounds this week. And I'm going to take it to game group tomorrow, and we're going to be playing it tomorrow. And this is Starship Captains. And this game is, I think was it by Czech Games? Starship Captains. Got to look it up. So I want to make sure I get the right. Yeah, Czech Games is the publisher for
Yep.
this, and this is kind of like it's almost like a, what do you call it, a spoof on Star Trek. You look at the cover and it looks like Star Trek on it.
It's
Yeah.
close enough to old school Star Trek, but not to get sued.
Oh, it's more like new school Star Trek. Those uniforms are like next gen uniforms,
Yeah.
and the ship is, I mean, come on. It's a squatty looking, it's a squatty version of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just enough to be almost like parody. And I guess that's why they could get away with it, because I think it's more parody on
Yeah.
it. But this game is really fun. I really enjoy this. And this is something that, it's not a complicated game. It's very much, I think it'd be fun. They say what, 10 and older, or ages 12 and up. The community says 10 and older, and I would agree with that. It's not really a complicated game. You get your little people. you have like they're more of a resource, but you have like these little statues, these little you can call them meeples, I guess, but they are plastic colored statues of blue, yellow, and red, which represent like the command structure, and then there's also gray, which is like a cadet. So you have these ensigns that you can pick. So if you're going to pick a red one, you select the red guy that's in your ready room, and you can only use the crew that's in the ready room. So you can put them like on the red. So it takes a red. If you want to do a red action, that allows you to move your ship 2 spaces. The yellow action allows you to attack. The blue action, I think, allows you to take a tech card, which can benefit you, things that you will have available to do different things. And you're basically going to move around and do different missions on different planets. And you got to have um, certain resources, aka your people, to do certain things and to get certain rewards to complete the missions. And and it's fun. The stuff is cute. The mission names are funny. The artwork is really neat. It's really cute artwork. The ship, your player board is basically a miniature Enterprise, and it's a dual layer board. And it's just fun. And they just you have damage on your ship, so there's like these little space pirates out there at certain paths. So like if you're going to go down that path, you'll take damage, or if you attack them, then you will still take damage if you attack them, but you can defeat them and then gain loot. And you capture the pirates, and then you get points for that at the end of the game for how many you have on your ship. And it's just a really overall fun game. Plays 1 to 4. The weight of it's only like a 2.36 on BGG, so it's not a heavy weighted game, and it's not hard to learn. It's actually real simple. There is a plays to one, like I said, 1 to 4. So you got a solo variant, and I've played that a couple of times, and I have enjoyed it. I think the hardest part about this game is the setup. There's quite a bit of stuff in the game. But again, it was my first time setting it up. So I think it'll be a little less daunting the next time around because, oh, I know what this is. I know what that is. There's a lot of things in the box, but I do highly recommend it. I really do enjoy this game. It's a lot of fun. And you don't have to be a Star Trek fan. And if you're a Star Trek fan, I don't come into it, I think, expecting Star Trek. Think of it as like a really lighthearted, fun Star Trek, if you will. It's just a light, fun game. So I looking forward to playing with my group this week. But that's what I did this recently.
That's a good amount of gaming.
Yeah, I've had quite a bit. Again, and all my kids are back home, so
Oh,
my youngest doesn't like to play games, but my 2 older kids do. So I will be securing some more game time in. That's
you
why the list is longer here because I got a lot in with my daughter.
so you can tell them the more games you play, the bigger their trust fund is going to be.
There you go. I don't think any of them would even that would entice them. Thankfully, my 2 oldest kids just like playing. So
There you go. Well, that would maybe entice the youngest. Well, maybe not. Who knows? Or there's more weights for the garage
yeah,
in it for him.
yeah,
All right.
definitely.
Yeah. All right. Let's get rolling on to the topics. But before that, if you'd like to reach out to the show, you can email us at contact@thisboardgamelife.com. You can also go to our website. There's a voicemail widget up on the page over there on the right hand side. You can click that and leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. And you can also hit us up on our guild and on different places on BGG. I gotta look it up, but definitely we do have a guild called This Board Game Life where we post all of the shows and stuff. So I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. And
Yeah, I
we got a
think
Facebook
so.
group too. But all right, on to The main stuff here. You want to take this first one? I'll take the second one.
Sure. So one of the things I was thinking about recently, it was about like game time, length of how long it takes to play a game. And this comes into play every week when we've got our game groups are meeting and we, like last week, I think it was last week, we were kind of waiting around because, traffic and construction and this time of year, it's nice out. So you never know, maybe people aren't going to make it. But so you're maybe getting started a little late if you're waiting for some players and maybe what you plan to play it's like, okay, this is going to take 2 hours, and then we're going to play this other game, which takes 2 hours. And well, we only have 4 hours to play because they kick us out of the store at 10 o'clock at night. So, it can kind of be a bit of a challenge sometimes. And, there's games that can be really long. So, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. I've heard of people playing games like for 7 hours. I've done some 7 hour stretches on Gloomhaven, and that's brutal just because you're sitting so long. Um, but I was curious, Rob, to wondering what your kind of preferred game length is, or if you even have one. Do you
Yeah.
prefer less than an hour? Do you kind of like that 1 to 2 hour frame? Do you like more than 2 hours, or what do you like?
No, that's a really good question. Now, there's I would say that I'd have to caveat this first. So when I'm talking about game time, I'm going to try to consider it in game time while you're not teaching or being taught, right? Because that can significantly, like easily double or more the game time, just because you're going over the rules, asking lots of questions and stuff like that. For for your typical game, um, I'll say like mostly Euro or whatever, I'm fine with pretty much anything less than 2 hours. Once the games go beyond 2 hours, they get a little tough, especially if it's one of those that has, it doesn't have multiple player actions going on simultaneously. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before, but one of the games that I remember to be the most excruciating was when I was playing. Um, oh man, what is that game with the Starks and
Game
Game
of
of
Thrones?
Thrones. Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. So it was the FFG Game of Thrones game, which a lot of people love, and we played it in. It was at Gen Con. We played it over there, and it started off with, let's check this game out. It was in the games library at Gen Con. So we checked the games out and then put the flag up, looking for players. Like, did they do that when you were playing last year with your daughter, where you could
Um.
like pick up the flags,
Uh.
and it's like it's a flag, you put it up on the table if you want another player, and then people can just walk around and you know, they plop down next to you and they play with you. So,
No, we
we
didn't. We didn't have any there, unless we were in the wrong place. But where we were sitting,
no,
there
it
was no
it should have been
flags.
the same place, but
Yeah,
you
there was
you
no
can
flags.
get those flags. You might not have just noticed them,
Oh.
but yeah. So we wound up having like 6 players. I don't think it was seven. I don't remember what the max is. I think maybe it's six at max. But this game took forever, forever,
Ugh.
to the point of where it was at least 5 hours, if not longer. And there was a lot of people learning the rules. And I think we had one person that had to like leave, and then somebody else like took over for them, thankfully. But when the game gets to be that long and you take your turn and you're not taking your next turn for like 15 minutes, I just not lose interest, but it's like I don't want to play anymore.
Uh,
It's, and I even remember, granted, this is probably like 10 years ago now. Uh, I remember also that I was on my phone killing time in between turns, and then I had to charge my phone because I used up my phone battery while I was waiting for my turn. So that is like way too long for me. The sweet spot, 45 minutes to maybe 2 hours, because some games, 2 hours can happen quick. It's like you get through it,
it-
and you have a good time, and it's like you don't even realize that 2 hours happened. And when there's a game night, ideally, if a game would be like 45 to 90 minutes, because then you can get a bunch of games in like that. That is
yeah,
ideal. But I don't mind games that are less than an hour at all. Um, there's plenty of games that are fairly quick. Ganshun Clever, Point Salad is another one. A lot of card games, like the little card games.
yeah.
They
60 Nimp
definitely,
is one we play a lot of
yeah,
to warm
exactly.
up.
Yep. Um, yeah, there's another one you might like. It's called Sticklin. If you like those kind of games, to warm up the group, it's a really cool game, and they finally have an English version of it that came out a while ago.
That's helpful.
Yeah, but yeah, even for those that you know were like German only, you could find the rules on BGG. Just look in the file section of the listing. But yeah, 1 to 2 hours is fine. More than 3 hours, it gets dicey. Just yeah, like 15 minutes between turns. Oh, and then you
It's too,
forget what
yeah,
you're gonna do.
yeah.
You know, it's
That's
like
why
yeah.
I no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it's like yeah, it's like I do my move, and then I'm like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do next. And then 15 minutes later, of me like staring at the ceiling, it's like, oh, what was I doing? What game am I playing? I forgot. It's too long ago.
Yeah, I also like those. Like, I'm a big fan of games that are, what is it called, asynchronous, where you're all playing at the same time,
Yeah.
and like that Dungeons Dice and Danger. It's like the active player rolls the dice, but everyone's able to use the dice roll in some way. Space base, same thing. Someone's an active player rolling the dice, but everyone else gets to use the dice. Just if they have the flipped cards or the cards tucked underneath the top of the board, then you get to use the dice. So at the beginning there's not that, you got to get some additional cards bought to tuck, but then it by the end of the game everyone's playing on every roll of the dice, so it
Yeah.
just keeps the game going. Yeah, otherwise it just can get bogged down, and then people are looking at their phones, and then it's like, oh, it's your turn, by the way, and they're like, huh, because they get bored waiting. And then if you do have people that are slow to take their turns, when especially in a game group, like we've just got so many different types of players
Sure.
coming in all the time and go. And there's some people that just really take their time thinking about every aspect. And it's just like there's times I'm just like, oh, want to bang my head. It's like those people are great when you gotta go to the bathroom because it's like, oh, they're up. I got plenty of time. You can leave the table and go do that. But if you've got a long game and you've got a player or two that are in there that are slower to take their turns, that really can prolong a game that's only supposed to be an hour long into hour and a half to 2 hours. And then it just takes the kind of sucks the fun out. So yeah, it's can be a tough to find, I think, especially in that type of group. But when everyone knows the game and everyone is
Yeah.
playing kind of more all the time, Um, yeah, I myself am like anywhere, I think up to an hour and a half. Um, I can do it 2 hours. Like Nemesis is probably easily 2 hours, but it's flowing. Like there's so much tension in that game,
Yeah.
and it that type of game keeps you sucked in. It like keeps you involved. Um, but otherwise, if it's just like not asynchronous and it's just everyone takes their turn and then you just wait, there can't be a long wait time. And then
Right.
if the games are like, oh, it's going to be 3 hours for a 4 player game, and that's you're sitting there waiting, it's just no fun anymore. Because you
Hmm.
take a couple minutes to do your turn and then you're waiting for all these other people to do their thing, and
Yeah.
it pulls you out. Or yeah, you can have conversations and about other things, but if you are a game group or you're new to the group, you're not going to be saying much maybe until you get to know people, or if they're good friends, then you might, yeah, you guys have got things to talk about. But then what I've seen happen there is people start chatting, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, whose turn was it? Because everyone was just talking. It's like, the game got forgotten. We're there to play the game, so let's not forget.
Oh yeah.
So, but
And
yeah,
like and in those games where people take a long time, it's one thing if somebody's taking their turn, and it's like let's say I'll be watching what they're doing, and you're engaged. But like where I lose it is kind of where people are min-maxing
yeah,
everything that they do. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if I do this, it'll give me 11 points. But if I do this, it'll give me 12 points. If I do this, it'll give me 8. So I definitely want to do the 12-point thing. But then, it's like it's like a rabbit
yeah,
hole for some people. And it's like,
yeah,
come on, just take your turn. That's when I check out. It's not that I can't sit there and like engage to what people are doing, because sometimes it's interesting, like, oh, what are they going to do? Right.
right,
There's no problem with that. But when people are like going back and forth and indecisive, or, oh, that's the rough one.
yeah.
And that can take a short game of Ganshun Clever and make it 2+ hours. Just saying. I don't know.
Which is insane. Like that should
Yes.
just
Yes.
never happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I think if you're in a game group and just try to think of others and try to do what you can to keep the game moving and you know, make it fun for everyone. But
Hmm.
yeah, if you get in groups or you know, yeah, I guess it depends on what you like. Because like when we were at Gen Con too, like there was those guys that had like those massive world maps, and they were doing like these massive war games and
Yep.
like there for like days, right?
Oh yeah.
and they
Hmm.
and they love it. So it's like I guess it really does depend on the player. So
Yep.
I prefer, I think I really do enjoy playing a lot of games if I can. Like when I go on my Wednesday nights, I really want to try to get in 2 games. So again, 2 hours at a pop. Um, but they really need to be a little less than that by the box, because you are going to have people that are learning. We're always seeming to teach a game, and because we're always bringing stuff, so it's like, hey, I want to play something new, and so we're always bringing something new. So you're always teaching people. And sometimes you're teaching, and then someone else pops in, and it's like, oh, here's the fourth player. Okay, well now I got to start over, and because you're teaching it, you're teaching throughout the whole game, so it does slow it down. Um, and it's like I really like to get at least two, you know, good sized kind of games. Um, and so I always don't want to play something that's like, if I'm playing like Nemesis, I'm like, yeah, this is probably all I'm going to get in unless I play a game of Uno or Point Salad afterwards, because this could take all night. In fact, I think I've been there where we've played Nemesis. I think it was the very first time, and it took us all night. So it's like, we only got one game in, but it was a great game. So,
Yeah.
so that means a lot too. But yeah, cool.
Yeah. I remember seeing some reviews for some of the war games that have been out there like for years, and there's some war games that easily have more than 1,000 hours of play.
Oof.
Like some, I don't remember exactly how this goes, but the pieces are like magnetized or something like that, so that they stick to the board,
Uh
so you
huh.
can literally play them like time and again and again and again. Although, isn't like because Gloomhaven is like supposed to be like 100 hours,
Oh yeah.
like
Oh
something like
yeah.
that across all
Oh,
95
it'll be no.
missions.
The missions are. I think it's 95 missions, and then there's a bunch of side missions and stuff as well. It
Oh,
takes you well
really?
into
Okay.
100. And if you were able to beat every mission, you're looking at well over 200 hours, I would say, because
Okay.
some of them take 2, 3 hours to do. And then if you fail it, you
That's
have to
like a
go
game
back
of
and redo
Skyrim.
it. Yeah, it's crazy long.
Yeah.
I wonder how many hours we have in that game so far. And like one night I know we played for like 7 hours and I was so tired. And I think we only got completed two missions. And that was it. It's like, wow. So what have I got?
Yeah.
So right now I've got 67 hours in that game. The average playtime per mission is 2 hours and 45 minutes. So,
Yeah. I just looked up.
oh, wait, is that just this year? I think that's just this year. No, I think that's overall. So, yeah, that doesn't seem right. But yeah, 67 hours.
Yeah.
So,
There's a game called The Campaign for North Africa. Estimate it came out in 1979 by Richard Berg. That's a designer. And playing time estimated 1,500 hours.
that's too much.
So players are instructed that every military unit and every resource must be kept track of in excruciating detail. And they recommend you play in two teams of five, which with each person on the team keeping track of a specific unit or resource.
Yeah, no, thanks.
If
I'll
played as
pass.
intended, players will know the name of every pilot under their command and the serial number of every plane, plane that they own. Oh man.
Oh, yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah, they list Gloomhaven 90 hours. Let's see what the Pandemic Legacy 12 to 24. You played that one, right? Pandemic
Pandemic,
Legacy?
not the legacy, no.
No, okay.
I'm not sold on legacy games yet.
Yeah. Yeah, most are like 6 hours in this list. Nemesis made the list 6 hours. Some of the railway games, War of the Ring,
And I mean,
Risk, 2 to 4
that,
hours. I could add Axis and Allies. It
oh,
takes like
yeah.
2 to 4 hours to set up.
There you go.
That's what it seems like. I know it doesn't, but it feels like it sometimes. But
That's another thing too on the times they list. Some of these games, like uh, Orléans takes a while to set up. Um, there's another one. The Dungeon Saga Origins takes time to set up. If you're doing like Dice Throne Adventures, that takes quite a bit of time to set up and prep. It's almost like they should have a setup time for some of these games because it's just like 1 to 2 hours, but that doesn't take into consideration the length of time it does to set the game up, and some can take quite a while. So like I know like I'll like tell people, okay, I'm gonna bring these. Anyone want to play? I can bring these, and if I get let's do this. I will. And if it's something that has a good setup time, like Lost Ruins of Arnak can take a little bit of time to set up. I'm going to show up early and get that thing all set up so it's ready to go right, at
Nice, nice.
6. Because otherwise I'm showing up at 6. It's like, okay, half hour in and you still haven't played. It's like, man, I want to be playing at 6. So
Yep.
I think some of those games should list a setup time as well. But anyways, good, good, good discussion, I think.
Absolutely. Oh, heck yeah.
So
Very, it's really interesting. Now, how about this? When you see a game on the table, let's say it could be at a convention, could be at a Kickstarter page, photo, or, game group, and you see a game on the table, what exactly about a game sparks your interest? Okay. Like, what makes you go like, ooh, what's that? Or, oh, that looks really cool. Do you know what I mean? There's usually something in games
yeah,
that do that versus other games where you're like, nah, don't care what that is.
yeah, it's I I think for me it's the amount of stuff on the table. Maybe the toy factor. I don't know. It's like there's a game
The components.
that
So, is
yeah,
what you're
the
saying.
components, like how nice are the components? Like, the game can be fun, but if it just doesn't like I'll say terraforming Mars, for example, like you can get some serious, and I haven't done this, but you can dump some serious coin into that game to upgrade the table presence, like with the 3D printed tiles and stuff like this. And man, does it really, make a difference compared to just the standard game, like if you go all in on the components. And people will stop and look. And I mean, seeing something like that is like, well, what is this? I think at Gen Con last year, was walking past the Thunder Road Vendetta booth, and it was all set out, and they caught my. I'm like, what's this? They got little helicopters. They got a road. They got what is that? They got cars, and what's happening here? It was just, and it was that one. I think was more of because it was a long board. You got the three pieces all in a line instead of like a standard board game. So the board itself was different, and then you had these you know miniature pieces that were moving around, and so that caught my eye just because of kind of that look that it had. um Other games, like I'm looking at one on Kickstarter that I don't know what to do. I want it because of the components, the look of it, you know, the quality of it, but I've like watched some playthroughs and it gets all these rave reviews, but when I've watched people play, I'm like, I'm like, this doesn't look that interesting. And so I don't know, it's Fractured Sky. They've got like a redo with a even more deluxe edition than they had, I guess, previously, a super deluxe edition
Super
plus an
mega
expansion.
deluxe, high res, high definition, um,
Fancy
legendary.
machine printed minis instead of them just being plastic colors. Then they're also painted, and it's just like, and it looks really good. But it's like I want this game just because of the way it looks on the table, and it's like it's killing me because it's like it's expensive, and I'm like, will I actually play it? Will I get this to the table? Will I even enjoy it? But it's like it's one I continue to go back and look at. And then I think, well, Starship Captains caught me. That wasn't even by the table presence. That was by the box art. The box
Mhm.
art just caught my eye. Um, and then I looked at the back and I was like, ooh, look at all this stuff. Um, but yeah, I think for me, it's really about like the components. And I don't want too much, but deluxe or a really nice looking game, something that's unique. that maybe stands out. Um, there's what is one I've got where you get like it's a Harry Potter Death Eaters Rising, I think is what it is, and you have like a statue of oh, what's his name? The one who should not be named. Um, I was going to say Mordor, but that's Lord of the Rings. Um, anyways, the bad dude in the game, Voldemort. Like you have a statue of him like in the middle of the game. That's pretty cool. And it's like it really looks, and it's like one of those things when people walk by, they're going to stop and take a look at it. Like, what is this? Um, and it seems like the games that I bring that have a lot of deluxe components or a lot of things that might stand out, that's what people stop and go, "What is this?" But when we're just playing like a normal game, that's doesn't look any different than anything else. People don't stop and ask. So for me, it's the toys.
The the components, the goodies.
Yes, all the
Yeah.
expensive parts.
Yeah.
What about you?
So there's multiple things. I think the table presence of the game definitely does have some appeal to it, especially when there's like multiple player boards, if that makes sense. Like if every player has a board, I tend to like those games. I don't know why. Um, Especially if the player boards are also dual layer. That's like next level.
Oh yeah,
Just enough to hold the cubes. Although there are some games that have those and they're really annoying because the spaces aren't they're a little too small for for the components. But yeah, I definitely like like nice player boards, and if the game has player boards for the players. I'm not too much into minis though. This is where I think I stray from a lot of folks. A lot of folks just love minis, and I think that might have something to do with the fact that I don't paint like at all. So
right.
it doesn't look as good if you get these like lame gray minis all over the all over the board. It's not as interesting as the painted ones. That's where you could say, well, you could just buy the painted ones. Well, it's not an option in every game,
That's right.
and they're ridiculous. And like, I know you and I talked about the whole sun drop thing with
Oh,
Castles of Burgundy, and yeah, that was where I had like a partial sun drop painted set. So I had castles that were sun drop painted. So it's like I think they call it like a wash kind of that gives it you know uh, a nice look. So it's not just plain gray. So it's got some like weathered look to it and nice texture. The textures pop. And when I ordered some extra components off of the reprint that we just had, I had to get the sun drop components for the terrain pieces because that was what I was missing. And you can't just have some sun drop. It's like you got to go big, go home. You got to get it all. It's like Pokemon, got to get it all.
yep.
But yeah, like normally the like minis, they don't influence me too much, and even if I see them, they're fine. It's just like another thing to knock over sometimes, like standees, where you like breathe wrong and they all like fall like dominoes. But
Yes.
and I do appreciate components. I also do like very heavy pieces. So there were some games that had Bakelite pieces, like in particular, I'm thinking like Hive. It's where you're playing these hexagonal bug pieces. It's kind of like a strategy game, kind of like chess ish, sort of, where every piece moves differently, but the pieces are like nice and heavy. and very enjoyable. Uh, they make a nice clinking sound when you put them down, like poker chips, right? Like a game like
Ugh.
Splendor. I mean, that helps. I guess I'm all about like the feel and the look of the components, not necessarily of minis. That's like the biggest draw. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm not big on dice. Um, that really does nothing for me. Like at Gen Con, you know how they have those big bins of dice? Did you
Uh-huh.
see those? There's
Oh
like
yeah.
mobs of people around them. I just walk right by them. I don't even look at them. I'm like, oh, it's dice.
Yeah, I'm not that
Yeah,
doesn't do anything for me either,
yeah.
but
And then some of the artwork. Like I really enjoy some of the what I'll call old school Euro game artwork by Dennis Lohausen and some of the other folks that did a lot of the Euro games over the past 10, 15 years. So I think that's the main stuff for me. I'm sure
see
I'm
it.
sure there's more, but that's like the main things. As soon as I see that stuff, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah,
that looks cool.
artwork can be so like can just I think these like developers they got to be very careful when they choose their art. I wonder how they have like these discussions like unless it's something they think of when they're designing it, they know what they want it to look like because the art can be so like it can just turn you off so easily. You know, like I think
Yeah,
about so many times I walked away from Azul
yeah.
before realizing, oh man, this is a
Hmm.
great game.
Oh yeah. Actually, like the Azul pieces, they're kind of like Bakelites. Maybe they are. It's like that thick, chunky, plasticky feel.
Uh huh.
Let me see. I got to look that up.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, I got it. It's tough for me, and something I always try to remember is like don't don't focus on the artwork necessarily. You know, it could still be a lot. Could still be a lot of fun.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a debate on Reddit as to what the stuff's made out of. It may not be Bakelite,
Okay.
maybe acrylic or something. But anyway, that's like the feel. Nice chunky feel that feels satisfying to put, and then makes that little clink noise as they touch. It's goofy, I know. But yeah, yeah. That's. Do you have anything else you want to add, or?
Um. No, I do think that I'm not interested in like dice per se, but I do like dice games. So
Oh yeah.
especially if there's a lot of dice, it does kind of strike my interest. So if I'm hearing like a ton of dice rolls or something outside of a standard D&D game, like I got a game called Dice Manor that I really enjoy, and it's like you can get up to like 9 dice that you're rolling at a time, and
Hmm.
Couriers is one that I kind of want to pick up, but just because there's a ton of dice in it, but
But they're like
um,
those little dice.
those are smaller,
Yeah,
but they're not that small.
they have
They
nice
were, I think, a little
personality.
smaller than standard dice. There was a ton of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
All right.
yeah, that's about it.
So I think that's about it for episode 72. Do you have anything else you wanted to add, or think we can
Nah,
take it out?
go for
All
it.
right. All right. So thanks for listening, everybody. This was episode 72 of This Board Game Life. Don't forget, if you'd like to reach out to the show, you can contact us at contact@thisboardgamelife.com. You can send us an email with any questions, any thoughts on this episode or any other episode, stuff that you'd like to hear us talk about, whatever. And you can also leave us a voicemail, and we have our This Board Game Life Guild on VGG. So thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Rob. catch y'all in 2 weeks.
And I'm Mark. We'll see you at the table.